We started off as a flash sale site, actually, jumping into the similar business that our major investor, the Gilt Group, had gotten into, doing flash sales of short-term sales of luxury high-end clothing and apparel, home goods. And so what we ended up pivoting into, similar to their concept, was jumping into a flash sale site focused on luxury travel. The major differentiators were a couple pieces. One was obviously price. The flash sale meant that you had a short-term period to buy a hotel in a specific region, and you got it at a great discount, a non-refundable price point that you couldn't get anywhere else. But the flip side of it was we curated the product. We picked every hotel that we wanted. We had riders go stay and experience the hotels to make sure the product we were actually introducing our members to was of a certain quality. Our first financial year, we did 18 million in gross bookings. That's starting from scratch, and obviously quickly saw a lot of competition come into the space. There was a lot of new entrances into the space in 2010 and 2011, which is where obviously Kapow and the challenges came into place. And so quickly became apparent that, yeah, it was very important for us to know exactly what was being sold, when it was being sold on all of these different competitors out there. The challenges we faced, obviously at that time, it was only 20 of us, so it was a small enterprise in the early days. The second piece was startups were popping up every week, so you couldn't exactly find a solution that just monitored one website that stayed that way, because you had to build to a new competitor every 2 or 3 weeks. And so what we essentially brought on was Kapow Software for a range of reasons, but to mainly monitor every single offer that existed on any other website. Any other competitor that popped up, we would build a bot, track everything they offered. So if we ran the same hotel 2 weeks later for the 4th of July, we knew that we had to price it at 150 rather than 160 to remain competitive. So it gave us a lot of intelligence to figure out how to merchandise, when to price things at certain levels and when not to, and also really to target our strategy on who the competitors were in the space that were really going to make it through the next couple of years. Looking back, it certainly was a key piece to how we were able to fend off and move out a lot of the competition, was just being more strategic about every single thing we sold with an insight to everything they were doing. That as we did interact with other competition out there, they certainly didn't have the same level of insight into what their competitors, including us, were doing in the space. So it was something that was slightly more innovative and provided us with, yeah, a leg up in an industry where we had access to all of their price points and how they were strategizing what hotels and which regions they were promoting. And that gave us a pretty strong advantage. The amazing thing, I guess, which is a credit to Kapow, is that we brought in people straight out of school. Most of our employees were out of NYU or different colleges around the New York area, and they were young enough where they were able to jump into this software and immediately start managing it. We have a single person who manages our competitive tracking, and he started with us as an intern out of a local college in New York, and quickly took over and managed and built and produced all of these different bots for tracking the competition. In our second year of the business, we pivoted. We actually moved the business to continuing to have the flash sales and continue to offer this distressed platform of inventory that was on sale, but we moved into the full price arena. So we essentially got into the same game as a Travelocity or an Orbitz or an Expedia. When you're starting to pivot into a whole new arena like that, you need to capture a whole bunch of data about what's going to make you competitive in that industry. And so the game changed. We essentially had to look at, okay, if we're going to go into the full price arena, what is the competition out there? What's their product offering? How much depth do they have in certain markets? And so that's where we were able to quickly pivot as well, what we were doing with Kapow technology. And having a product that's flexible and allows you to move into those different arenas as they pop up was key. The second piece is, depending on how big your organization is whether you have the sophistication to use more complex tools or whether you need something which is quite user-friendly. And I think there's very different solutions depending on which of those you need. For us, we needed something that was pretty user-friendly and able to be used by a team of folks who traditionally didn't come from that background.